Welcome back. It is now time for us to look at matters that are, happening in this country as we carry on. And joining me in studio to have that conversation, we have Honorable James Gakuya, Member of Parliament for Embakasi North. We are also joined via video link by Kevin Osido, who's a governance expert. And we have two main issues we'd like to talk about, starting with the Huduma Number and Huduma Card, which we have been told until 12th of December, you have 1 year to collect it. And if you do not do so, it'll be difficult to access government services. Now, the current national identification card will be rendered obsolete by December 12th next year. The IDs will be replaced by Huduma Number cards, Kenya's magical number. The state has also announced that the countrywide issuance of the Huduma card will commence on December 1st this year. Our reporter Brian Obuya with his details.
From the 1st of next month, Kenyans will receive text messages from the government on where they will collect their Huduma cards. This will apply to the 37 million Kenyans who applied for the card. The CS Interior, Fred Matiang'i, was speaking in Kiambu, where he rolled out the distribution of the cards.
One way to liberate Kenyans is to create a platform, an electronic platform, where all information about our people is found. And with one card, your details are available. That is why it's called the single source of truth.
3 million Kenyans would have received their cards by the start of January 2021. Another 5 million by February next year. Another mass registration for the Huduma Number is set for April 2021. Close to 10 million of Kenyans who did not take the card are expected to enroll next year. The government expects the card to eradicate corruption in government offices.
There is an enemy called the file that we are trying to remove from public service. The file imepotea. Tinunulia enda uone wazee wakati wa lunch, ona hawa wazee hivi ili file ipatikane. Sasa hakuna wakati wa kuona mtu mwingine yeyote. Huo wakati umekwisha na hii. Hakuna mtu wa kuonwa.
You will not be able to vote, pay taxes, acquire healthcare services, apply for a driver's license and birth certificate, sell or buy land as well as operate a bank account without the seemingly almighty card. But Huduma Number has not been without its share of criticism. For a start, there have been complaints of clerks who are not paid despite having registered Kenyans for the same. Then, the legality of the listing is also in doubt after High Court nullified the Miscellaneous Amendment Act 2018 that operationalized Huduma Number. At the time, the government had held it was ready to roll out the issuance of the cards, but was awaiting the National Assembly to approve the appointment of a data commissioner. That position has since been assumed by Ms. Immaculate Kasait.
Ya muhimu wewe kama Mkenya ni kwanza kuuliza, hii yote inaenda wapi? Kazi yangu kama data commissioner ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba wakati hiyo data imechukuliwa, imewekwa vizuri, na itatumiwa kwa ile njia inayofaa.
In recent times, a section of politicians allied to the Deputy President, William Ruto, have sensationally claimed that the Huduma Number was a grand scheme by the government to manipulate 2022 elections. Claims that the government has trashed.
Nikisikia makasisi wengine wakisema ati hii ni namba ya shetani. Jameni. Sheitani na kujitambulisha inaungania wapi?
Kenyatta and the First Lady Margaret were handed the first 2 samples of Huduma cards during the Mashujaa Day celebrations in Kisii County. But while collapsing all data into one card and database, serious doubt is being cast on the safety of not just the information, but the technical security of such a database. Brian Obuya, KTN News.
And as usual, you're welcome to participate in the conversation as we go along. The hashtag is KTN Morning Express. My Twitter handle is Michael G. Gitonga. Let's hear what your take is on this. So let me start with you, Honorable Gakuya. And it's being called a single source of truth. What are your thoughts on the Huduma Number? Does it help you as a member of parliament to deliver better services to your people?
Thank you very much. I am a Kenyan by birth, and I have gone several number of ID cards. And let me say that, in fact, the country grows with technology. And I think challenges that actually we have been going through as a nation require some urgent measures and some extraordinary measures. And having a Huduma number, it's not a crime, it's not a bad direction for the nation. It's only that this process had a big doubt right from its commencement and the way it was handled, and why the Huduma number could not wait until when we had what we call census, so that both can be combined and give us the result once and evade all those unnecessary costs from taxpayers. That's the only thing that I can
you can fault.
I can fault that. In fact, nobody would say that. In fact, to have a solution to what we call identification of foreigners, probably that we have issues with our neighboring here, like Somali, who normally crosses to the border and just get issued with ID cards and just becomes citizen. And also we have many foreigners who at a particular time in this country were being allowed in without following the right procedure, and were issued with permits and other issues. And I think the Huduma number, if it can be able to filter this and give us the original and the rightful people, I believe that's a good route to go.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. It's only that once a government has an agenda or an event, it is important to give public the correct measure, and this is public participation, so that public can understand and at least get to work together with the government in every single agenda that they think that it is for benefit to the same citizens.
To the citizens. All right. So for you as a member of parliament, do you feel in any way that it would help you deliver better services to your people? Because then at a click of a button, or at least within a very short time, you're able to tell the number of constituents you have, possibly where or their economic states and all that. Do you feel that it would help you deliver better services?
Let me say that, in fact, as I said there earlier, technology is always important, and it is important that, in fact, we borrow from other nations that already are in this particular kind of concept. So I would say that it is a mile ahead if it will be able to give us those one center kind of results. So I think to me it's an add. To me, it's a value to those individual services, equally to my personal matter. And when the public there at least have got a route that is minimizing their queuing and various number of vetting processes, I think it's to me it's a plus.
Okay, let's hear from Kevin Osido, who's a governance expert. Kevin, finally, we are going to see the rollout and the distribution of the Huduma card, which initially had been, had all manner of controversies, with people saying that it was just a government way of making extra money in one way or the other. Your thoughts of the benefits of a Huduma number, a single source of truth, as it's being called?
Very grateful to be part of it. To begin with, I want to agree with Mheshimiwa that when it comes to...
All right, we seem to be having a connection problem with Kevin Osido. Kevin, I hope you can hear me. The question was the benefits you see of a Huduma card now that it's finally being rolled out. All right, it looks like we need to sort that out. But let me come back to you, Mheshimiwa, and your general advice to Kenyans in regards to now the Huduma number, because it looks like whether we agree with it or not, it is going to be rolled out. There was controversy, of course, regarding the fact that if you do not have one, you will not get services. There's some who've said that that was not fair. What is your advice to the general public in regards to the Huduma number and Huduma card?
One that is, in fact, what we must do as a nation is that we should not give people a caveat that will also endanger their services. So it is important to give Kenyans enough time to at least
understand
not even to do what we call migration from the current IDs to the Huduma, because I believe that even the way the Huduma process started, it commenced on a matter that not everybody was urged to register at that particular moment. So I am sure that there are many number of those who are aged between 18 and above who already has the current ID cards, those who did not participate in that first Huduma process. And now that at least the government has shown they were serious on it, because having a near and above without a result, nobody could take the government serious on this. And therefore, there was serious doubt. And people are not very sure whether there will be a genuine outcome or not. And therefore, I would say that 1 year, it may be not enough. Therefore, the government could at least give a moratorium of about 2 years to migrate, so that at least everybody will not be, nobody will be locked outside. Because here, the problem will only affect those already having the new one, the current ones.
Right.
Because those who are maturing to 18 years, automatically they will just go Huduma way, and they will not be seriously affected like the ones who has the current
All
ID
right.
card.
And of course, we'll continue with debate regarding that. And according to what was given yesterday by the Minister for Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, is that you have until 12th of December next year to get your Huduma card. Failure to which you will not be able to access government services. And we've seen even from that story that even as things like even opening a bank account will be impossible for you to do that. But let's look at another story, and this is to do with the Building Bridges Initiative. According to the Standard, we have the headline there, Uhuru meets Ruto as BBI signature drive is called off. Now, the Building Bridges Initiative National Secretariat has postponed the launch of the collection of 1 million signatures that was scheduled for today. The Secretariat co-chairperson Junet Mohammed and Dennis Waweru citing late completion and public of Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 due to printing. The event was to be presided over by President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga. KTN News' Daniel Kariuki now looks at a signature collection process that was once conducted by a coalition of reforms and democracy code but fell short of the required threshold.
The journey to a referendum is set to officially kick off with the collection of signatures, but the process is receiving criticism and support at equal measure.
So there will be some leaders who will also sign that day. Thereafter, the copies are going to be sent to all counties.
The exercise that is expected to be devolved to the rest of the country, seemingly dividing Kenyans right in the middle.
Mimi sitapiga saini. Sababu kila ndapigia sign sijui ni nini. Tulisikia kuna draft ilitolewa na haijaletwa hapa mashinani tuone ili tuisome.
Hii si msimu ya kusema ni kusaini BBI.
Mimi tachora buzi. Hakuna kitu kingine, tachora tu buzi.
Kuna mambo kadhaa yenye imekuwa ikitajwa na baadhi ya viongozi wa huku Murang'a, wengine wanauga mkono, wengine wanapinga, lakini kwangu personally mimi nataka ni ikuje kesho tena mapema tena sana.
Na support personally.
Nandi Governor Stephen Sang warning that the collection of signatures in his county was not welcomed.
In Nandi County, we will not agree and will not accept those signatures. Mtu asikuja kujaribu kutafuta signatures hapa. Hakuna mtu atapeana signature katika kaunti yetu ya Nandi.
It is this back and forth concerning the collection of signatures that has left more questions than answers.
There will always be doubting Thomases in any process.
I want to urge the Secretariat of BBI and those involved to print as many copies of these documents as they practically can and send them to the lowest levels of society in the villages.
Insiders say the process will be carried out under the watch of strategic leaders across the political divide, but largely from the faction that supports the two handshake principles.
Ikuje, tuisome, tuone vile iko, tuone mahali tunaweza amend, hiyo ndio wakati nita make decision. But for now, hata hizo hao watu wenye watakuja kuuliza sahihi zetu, afadhali ni watoroke.
hata ukiwa unaniuzia buzi, uwezi muuzia buzi mimi, buzi iko kwa nyumbani kwako na mimi niko hapa.
Nimeiona, nimeisoma na mingi ya vitu ambazo zimo hapo ni vitu za kutujenga sisi wa Kenya wote.
A similar exercise was once carried out by Coalition of Reforms and Democracy CORD and flopped for failing to meet the required threshold of 1 million signatures. According to IEBC, some of the CORD signatures were drawings of animals. And in preparations for the drive, President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga hosted women leaders at State House, Nairobi on Wednesday. Daniel Kariuki, KTN News.
All right, so that was brought about, of course, by the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga. Mheshimiwa, your thoughts on what this means? Looks like reggae has been paused for one reason or the other. The signature drive was supposed to kick off today and has been postponed indefinitely. What are your thoughts on this? What do you make of it?
Let me say that, in fact, this concept of BBI is not very popular to Kenyans. And the reason is one that, in fact, though Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta represents, he's an executive president who holds a mantle of the presidency in this country, and Raila Odinga seems to be the opposition leader. Having met and having agreed about the handshake and having agreed to have a concept of BBI, I would say right from the beginning, it never kicked on the right, on the correct route, because it was not all-inclusive. And let me tell you that actually, if it is a matter to do with what we call elections, it is not only Raila Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta who normally goes to election, or who normally becomes the candidates. There are other various number of candidates who also could be part of this particular discussion and also be part of this concept of the BBI. Now that, in fact, it became people's property or a people's driven document, and it is now propagated to review most of the clauses in the current constitution, some of them to strike them off, and some of them to amend them to something else. I think it is a document that should require or inclusive. And when we are talking of building bridges as a nation, we must also take note that the bridges are not only for two communities. The bridges must be all inclusive, including the marginalized communities, including the small communities, including the 42 number of communities that makes the Kenya as a nation. And therefore, what I can say, when you don't want to include everybody's view, it means that there is something insincere in that document. Take into consideration that actually even some of the members who normally constituted that particular handshake committee who prepared this particular document, some of them are in question with the document. That actually, when they wanted to sign the document, they were not given even a moment of perusing the document. They were asked to sign in trust. Then this tells you that, in fact, there were issues from the beginning of that particular document. And therefore, I would say personally that the document, the president is the head of state, and he must know that, in fact, he might bring a document, try to push it to the public, and the public say no. Because at the end of the day, we shall move to vote. And it will be very embarrassing if we can arrive to a situation of a vote where people will say no to that particular document. So I think it is wise, and I would say that it is wisdom that the president yesterday, after meeting with the deputy president, they found it important to pause a bit, and then probably they consider the views of the church and the views of the other majority Kenyans.
Okay. All right. Let me hear from Kevin Osido, who is now going to join us via phone link. Kevin, welcome to the show. Your thoughts on this new development in regards to the Building Bridges Initiative report, which has the drive to collect signatures has now been postponed indefinitely. Of course, there are reasons that have been given as to why it has been postponed, but of course it's peculiar that it comes just after the deputy president and the president had a 3-hour meeting yesterday. What do you make of it?
Effectively, we have a youth conference taking place somewhere in Lower Kabete at Kenya School of Government, and the network seemingly looks very weak. Now, it didn't have to get us to this point, because you remember that when this process began almost 2 years ago, the desire was to have one Kenya. And it therefore called for various stakeholders and top leadership, particularly the political class, to be able to speak from one script. And in between, we have seen a lot happening. Young people, some of them have lost their lives because of politics. And this has been out of a desire for people to have an opportunity to build consensus. It is good that His Excellency the President and his deputy met. And I think that is what many Kenyans have been asking them to do, so that both of them can sit and ask themselves, where did the rain start beating them? And because this happened, I think, therefore, what Kenyans should be looking forward to getting from the leadership is what are the next steps when it comes to the BBI? Because in as much as these other leaders and various sectors are speaking about the report, I think of most concern and importance to Kenyans is, yes, you're faulting the report, but what is your recommendation? Because insofar as some select part of the population is faulting the report, there is another part that is saying, we met with the steering committee, we met with the task force, and they captured our views. What will we be telling that particular kind of grouping that has a belief in the BBI process, and they are convinced that this is the process that is supposed to take Kenya to that promised land? So I think for me is to keep pushing the citizens also to consider having accountability sessions to be able to look at the proposals in the report, and to push the leadership to consider the interests of the citizens much more higher and broader and bigger than political interests. And I think, Michael, this is very evident, because it therefore means that the present and even the future of Kenyans is really in the hands of a few people, because we don't have it doesn't have to cost 2 or 3 people to sit to provide direction to this country. I think that is a little bit disturbing, and so it therefore presents the question around, even if the deputy president and the president met and agreed, and we, as you rightfully said, other certain processes insofar as the roadmap to the BBI is concerned, like the launch of the signature collection has now been put on hold. The question to many Kenyans is, will we continue to have the kind of politics that we are seeing in our counties? Will we continue to have the kind of mobilization of people that we are seeing? And a lot of it really, Michael, from what we are seeing, is a lot of abuse. No one is telling the citizens what benefits they are going to get, whether they support or oppose the referendum that is upcoming. So it's good that the two leaders met, but I think that is a rallying call to many of our other leaders to be able to consider Kenya much more bigger and broader than individual personal interests. It's grateful to note that there are people who are praying for this country. The intelligence service of this country is alert, and they're able to advise the political class and the several other stakeholders to be able to speak from one script to build one Kenya. Michael.
And coming back to you, Mheshimiwa, one of the challenges that we may be having as a country is the fact that this document is heavily attached, particularly by politicians, to 2022. If perhaps this discussion was had and 2022 was not part of the discussion, maybe we'd have a more sober, conversation. Do you think that to be true?
Of course, yes, because having a document that actually we want to push to be part of, to be the opener to our next election to come 2022, it gives a lot of pressure, and therefore I would say it would be wiser if this particular document could be prepared in a somber way, without considering that it's a document that will take us to an election, because we found the previous document, which is the current constitution, it was done and completed by 2010. But Kibaki put it on a locker, and he didn't implement it on that particular time until when the new government came in. And therefore, I would say the same process could be added here, that at least we give it proper time without pushing it as if the Kenya government or the Kenya nation is migrating or moving elsewhere. And therefore, not giving it enough time, not even listening people, even giving what we call conditionalities, that the document must go the way it is, we must feel the interest of the people and the concern of the people, because it is document for the people, and therefore allow people to interrogate it and at least prosecute it.
All right, and we're going to take a short break right here on Morning Express. When we come back, we conclude on this topic of BBI and your thoughts on this. So we take a short break, but do stay with us. When we come back, we will conclude on the postponement of the signature drive, which was called off, and it was to start today. We take a break.